to you tonight a little bit about the kind of the cultural history of at least the Catholic religion here in Terrebonne Parish, which has deep roots in all across Acadiana, especially because the Cajun people come from Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, all from the Grand Dérangement, the Great Expulsion from Canada. Also from a second source, as well as our state belonged to France at one point. Then it belonged to Spain during the period of the American Revolution, and then going back to France before being bought finally by the United States. So between those two sources, the Catholic faith has a very deep tradition down here. And there's so many ways we see that between just the symbolism, the culture, prayers, things of that nature. You look at the New Orleans Saints, for crying out loud, right? This is one thing I think that it really just kind of comes through. The fleur-de-lis is symbolic of the Blessed Virgin Mary. And when the Saints were founded, I don't know if you knew this, the Saints as a team were founded on November 1st, which, All Saints Day, right? And so at the time, the owner asked the Archbishop of New Orleans, I think at that time was Archbishop Hannon. They asked Archbishop Hannon for permission to name the team the Saints, and he gave his permission, but he warned them. He said, let us remember, though, that the very first saints, most of them were martyrs. So I know the early years of the Saints were perhaps the paper bag wearing days, but at least in our area, the Catholic faith has taken great hold, and especially another huge tradition of ours is Mardi Gras. Who doesn't love Mardi Gras around here? Mardi Gras especially, we look at what it symbolizes. It's called Fat Tuesday for a reason, because before the invention of the refrigerator, when you would fast for Ash Wednesday, you would fast and you would abstain from eating meat all the way through Lent until Easter. So it's not as it was now where you can still eat meat on other days except Fridays. You fasted from meat all the way through Easter. And so everybody had to clear their refrigerators of meat. So guess what you did on the day before Easter, or Ash Wednesday? You ate it all. So that's why we'll call it Fat Tuesday, and so it's such a festive day in countries like France, Spain, or anywhere the Catholic faith spread to, such as Brazil, who has such a huge Portuguese influence, still continue these carnival celebrations for that particular reason. It was the day that they would celebrate, they would eat all of their meat, and it was the last day of celebration until the celebration of the resurrection for Easter. And so we still see that. Now, I'm not going to get into this is maybe opening a can of worms, the debate of crawfish balls on Good Friday. I'm not going to go into that. I'm sure there are many opinions on that topic, but I'm not going to go into that. But in many ways, what we see is at least the French heritage somewhat dying in what we're trying to do, especially in the Diocese of Houma-Thibodaux, of which Terrebonne Parish is a part of, is resurrecting some of those Cajun influences with even our liturgies. On August 15th, a celebration of the Assumption, every single year now we call it the French Mass for people of Acadian heritage, where we celebrate the Mass in French, and that's something I've been able to do for the last couple of years. Now, how much French do I actually speak? I'll say it this way, enough to read the Missal. I'm not fluent, but one thing I've been very thankful to see, though, is that there's been great efforts to revive the French language, which helped to bring our faith to this area as well. But with that, we've also begun in the last couple of years, COVID kind of threw it off, as well as the hurricane last year, a Eucharistic procession up Bayou Lafourche, which we've seen start in Golden Meadow. It's had its different transition periods. It would start in Golden Meadow by boat, it would get to La Rose, and then we would go by fire truck, and then we go by foot through St. Joseph's Cemetery to the Co-Cathedral in Thibodaux. And so we're seeing these things. We're trying to appreciate our French heritage, especially, which a lot of our ancestors brought the faith down with them. And so it's a very vibrant faith. It's intertwined, especially with our French culture. And so with that, it's amazing to see the ways that we celebrate it. And I love that we have the St. Luke's Choir here. I remember when Bishop Fobb first got here and for his installation, and y'all rocked the house. And I went to his installation mass up in Kentucky, and you can tell he misses you all, because we got up there and for his installation mass, they had their choir sing a gospel piece as well. And you see some heads from Kentucky turning around like, what is going on? And all of us from Houma-Thibodaux are like, this is his final kind of hoorah from leaving our diocese. So thank you so much for being here. And again, the Catholic faith is something that it's a part of many people's lives. And especially with the other faith traditions, what I'm so thankful for down here is the sense of ecumenism that we have with other denominations. And I know there's many associations. In fact, actually, I trained Taekwondo in Thibodeau, and one of the parents is a pastor in Raceland. And he said, Father, we'd love to get you to come to our meetings sometimes. We have a bunch of pastors from the Central Lafourche area. And I said, man, that's awesome. And I love seeing that. When I was assigned in Galliano, there was another organization, same thing. The pastors of all the local churches would get together for breakfast and just meet and have community and prayer together. And so I'm very thankful, and that's what we're doing tonight as well, is we'll also have, I think, 2 other speakers speaking about their faith traditions. But again, it's just something that, again, you see it in our culture in Mardi Gras, the Saints football, something that we just give thanks for all the time, which help keep our in a sense, our culture together has been our faith, and I think that's one of the great traditions that we have here in Terrebonne Parish.
When I walk into St. Francis, it's like going home. You know, I've been to other parishes after we were married. You move, you're in another parish. But the Catholic religion is just a part, and it stays a part. It does not, and I assume if you are a Methodist, if you are a Baptist, whatever religion you are, it is a part of you. And that's my ancestry is from Pontchartrain, and it was Dupre's who came here. Jean Dupre came here in the 1600s. And so my ancestors go back, way, way back. In fact, I don't know if Reggie Dupre is still here, but he's my nephew. So I have been around a good long time. In fact, there's up at the top, that's St. Francis. That was the original school. That was the convent for the Marianites of the Holy Cross. And you had outbuildings that went around a quadrangle, and that's where I started school. My father was a trapper, which meant that we were taken out of school from December, January, and February. Well, when I came back in February, the new St. Francis School, which is the St. Francis School that still is there, I went my second half of my first grade year. So I was only at that school 3 months. And then the other one was born. And it's the same school that's still standing right now. And I'm 77 years old, and I was in first grade when I went there. So that's how long and how old that school is. But my wedding, Margie asked me to bring my wedding book, and it's there if anybody wants to look. We did not have a bride and groom on the top of our wedding cake. We had that chalice that you see right there. It's my sister who gave it to us for a wedding present. And it has our names on it and the date. And every year that we celebrated our anniversary, and we were married for 44 and a half years before he passed away, we drank out of that chalice. In fact, on our wedding day, we toasted out of the chalice. And then every anniversary, we toasted out of that chalice. And we did that for 44 years. And he was a good man. Very good man. I miss him extremely. But I brought rosaries. There's 2 rosaries there. There's I don't know if y'all know what a sick call outfit is. Okay, this is a sick call, and you take it out. It has candles inside, and you would put holy water in there. And there's little notches where you would set them in. And if the priest was coming over for some religious thing at your house, mostly it was when they came over to pronounce someone dead and give them the last rites. And you put the candles in, you lit the candles in, and that was, because this is blessed. This also was given to me for my wedding. So this thing is 58 years old. And I brought my book, it says, they came, they stayed. And that was on the Dupre family. So that is my line in that little blue book right there. I have pictures of my grandparents in there, my great-grandmother. My great-grandmother came from Italy, and she was a Vito. And she spoke no English when she came here. She spoke Italian. And my great-grandfather spoke only French, because they were down the bay on their own, in their own little community, and very seldom was English spoken. And they ended up with 15 children. So they found a language of their own. You know, it's a universal language, believe you me. And so I am descended from that line. So yeah, it's a hodgepodge, but the United States is a hodgepodge.